Okay, well.
Hi.
Hey. Hey, guys. Welcome back to Seeing Other People. I am here with Jen Lauren.
Hi.
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 We're also...
Should I be facing the camera?
No.
Okay.
We're also doubling up. This is also on Dare to Self-Care.
Yes.
What's up?
Nothing much, you?
Not much.
Just like trying to start planning a wedding, which I've heard is the worst part. Like
the starting?
The initial decisions, budgeting, understanding how stressful all this is, and just getting hit in the face with all. It's like you don't, sorry to just jump right in, but like you don't realize or understand why it's such a thing that brides are stressed out and blah, blah, blah. And then when you start, it kind of hits you and it's almost like a culture shock where I'm like in those preliminary stages of like, oh, this is my life now. These are the things I'm going to have to deal with. The boundaries that I've set with certain people in my family or my life are getting blurred. Like it's just that initial chaos that I'm dealing with.
It is really like getting hit by a truck.
Yeah. Like you realize, oh, I'm gonna, like, I still am very much of the camp that I was before of like, remember what it's all about, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna be chill. It's supposed to be fun. But then when you start, you're like, okay, this is what everyone's been talking about. And it's, for me, I'm not able, because my brother's first and a lot of other reasons, I'm not able to have my wedding till end of next year. So it's the realization like I'm going to be dealing with this for almost 2 years. That's like,
It's a blessing and a curse because on one hand, you have more time to do things. You don't have to rush. But on the other hand, all of this is just going to be hanging over your head.
Yeah, like the amount of anxious nights are just going to be more frequent. Hopefully more spread out because I assume there will be months where like I'm not doing anything at all. But yeah, it's like this is going to be almost 2 years of dealing with people and opinions and finances and chaotic shit. So
living the dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something that I remember, you know, some of my best friends got married before I was ever engaged. And I didn't really think much of it. I'm like, oh, they're planning a wedding. And like, I didn't know the questions to ask. I didn't know that I should maybe be checking in on them more. I had no idea what they were going through.
Same, but I also feel like I've been kind of in a bubble where like the few of my friends that did get married had it pretty easy. Granted, there's always stuff, but I didn't feel like I was hearing really that much of it where I'm like venting to all my friends about all the nitty gritty like details and family stuff. And I don't feel like I really got that. So actually expanding my circle with like other content creators, oddly enough, we're all oversharers naturally, has been very helpful because I've been hearing, just like even I got coffee with someone yesterday and I was like, did you have like sleepless nights or am I just not cut out for this? Like, why am I staying up all night worrying about like a guest count or something like that, which I know you get. And just hearing people be like, oh my God, same, comforts me in such a way because I thought I just like wasn't cut out for it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, I completely hear that. And it's so funny because some of the stuff feels so like weird to talk about, especially with people who like we're not inviting to the wedding.
Yeah.
And it's something that we need to be talking about it. Like it's so specific. It's so emotional and draining. And there are so many times where I question like, am I crazy? Like, am I a bridezilla? But like I'm not, because my whole thing is like I want everyone else to be. It's like, oh, what color dresses should the moms wear and your maids of honor? I'm like, whatever they want. Like I don't care.
Same.
But I'm like, but it's all consuming. It completely dictates how I feel on any given day.
But I hate that.
So much.
Like similar to how a lot of new moms feel, like pregnant women are always like, stop fear-mongering, stop like posting about how motherhood is so hard. I want to be excited about it. I kind of felt that way in the bridal space. I was like, I just got engaged. Like, let me, like, stop talking about how negative this is. This is supposed to be a positive time, but like, I get it. Like, no matter what. Because my thing is like I've set a lot of boundaries, whether unintentional or intentional, with just like I'm not someone who like talks to my family members 24 times a day. Like I talk when it's like a safe time and space for me to talk, when there's quality time. Like I just have kind of like boundaries set where, to your point, like people can't dictate my mood.
That's going to change. I mean, there's no way for it not to.
And now it's like there's this thing that we are all involved in that I'm now like dodging calls because I know they're going to be like, did you look at the venue yet? Did you sign this yet? And I'm just like, I don't want to talk about it. It's too much. So like, it's just the boundaries that you've set and the pleasant relationships that you have, I find that like it's becoming like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just like becoming more all consuming. Lines are getting blurred. There's just this thing now that everyone has opinions on and wants to discuss at all times every time you talk. And that has been actually really hard for me. Aside from like budgeting and things and comparison, that is like the other hard thing for me is like, I just want to hang out.
I know.
I don't want to worry about your opinion about where I went to see venues or whatever. So it's just like, I don't know. It's a lot because I like to have my boundaries and it feels like it's kind of not possible in wedding planning.
The best way I've come to describe it is that you're suddenly handed you're getting a new job. You have to do this job. You are assigned to this job in a field that you've never worked in before, that you know nothing about. You are not qualified for this job at all. You have no prior experience doing what this job is requiring you to do. And you are project managing the biggest, most important, most expensive project of your life with probably the worst group of people for you to ever have to work with.
Holy shit.
That is wedding planning.
Clip that.
Thank you very much.
No, for real, because I feel this weird responsibility to like explain the struggles of wedding planning because I didn't understand it beforehand. And that is the perfect way to describe it. And I got really good advice from multiple people that essentially is just like stay in your lane. Don't ask or invite too many opinions. And when you're going to make a decision on something like what guest count people are getting in your family or where the wedding is or whatever, like you need to figure out your decision internally and then just like say it. And that's the decision. Like don't invite a conversation around it is kind of the advice I've gotten that I really want to channel for my own piece, to just be like, here's what it is. Mm-hmm. And then just like walk away, drop the bomb and walk away.
I've actually found that to be the hardest part because I want everyone to feel like they're included and involved in the decision-making process. I want everyone to feel like they're able to have the people there that they want. And, you know, like, yes, it's mine and Jake's wedding, but we're so fortunate that, you know, both of our parents are contributing a lot of money and like the financial burden's not falling on us. So it is important to me that those people
definitely
get their say and feel respected and feel like their thoughts and opinions are heard. Like it is their child's wedding. So that's hard where, and they have always like wanted to put us first and prioritize like what we want, but it's also sometimes we don't know what we want. And so then it ends up being what someone else wants, or it becomes this whole big debate. And it just, there's then so many cooks in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. It's also like, well, if we have a conversation with one of our parents about, and listen, I know both of our parents are going to listen to this episode. Hello, everybody. But if we have a conversation about something with one of our parents also are friends and they talk, and then that'll get back to the other parents, and then the other parents might feel left out. And this has gone completely like both sides. So it's so tricky to navigate.
It does make it worse when like both families are contributing because, yeah, you do need to take both families' opinions into consideration out of respect. So mm-hmm. I get that. And then like ultimately it's your decision, but like the people pleaser in me is like I can't get one person's opinion out of my head. Like if one person says something, I'm in the venue stage right now, so like if one person says something about the venue, even though their opinion shouldn't matter, I'm the one who visited, blah blah blah, I'm up all night thinking about that person's opinion. Like why
I know
that's a personal problem. I think I'm just easily influenced, but also to your point, you want everyone to go and be excited to go and be proud and have their friends there, and it's just somehow it's a lot of people pleasing. And I honestly wish I was getting married in like my 40s where no family members were helping and I had all the money and could just like...
And the guest list would naturally be so much smaller.
Like I'm just doing what I want. Yeah, so just get married in your 40s.
Literally. That's the secret to wedding happiness here.
I will say what has kept me like very mentally strong through all of this is Ethan. And I've heard a lot just like on TikTok of people being like, this was the worst time in our relationship. Even on Summer House, do you watch?
I don't, but
Amanda and Kyle are always like, that was the worst year of our relationship, whatever. And I'm just very grateful and would encourage whoever is dealing with that to like the strength and the core and all of it should be you and your partner as a team. And like when one person's stressed or anxious, the other person needs to be helping them through it and not making it worse. And for me, I'm just grateful that he literally would not have a wedding. He doesn't care. So he's just like, what are you stressed about? It's a party. Why are we even having it if it's not going to be fun? And that obliviousness is very helpful for me because it like calms me down.
Yeah. No, I feel that. I mean, I'm really grateful through all this, and we can get into some relationship foundation stuff in a bit, but I'm really grateful that like Jake and I have a really good communication style where like we don't fight. And so we haven't fought like as stressful as this past year has been for me. We've never like fought about any of the wedding stuff. Like, am I really stressed and is he really not involved? Do I wish he was a little more involved? Yes. But have I accepted that that's not him? Also, yes.
Wait, I kind of, okay, so I felt the same way, but now I really appreciate it because the obliviousness is very calming to me. I don't know if that makes sense, but like him being like, so let's not do it. Or like, who cares what this person said? Like I will bring him something and be like, this, you know, this parent said this and I'm so upset. And he's like, and like, who cares? Like,
well, I care.
Well, but he's like, it's helpful to me to have someone be like,
it's not that deep.
Everyone's exactly. And like, you're dealing with, she's like, Jen, you're dealing with a lot of personalities and opinions. Like, this is going to happen. And I'm like, true.
Oh,
like, I like that he's not involved as much now because his perspective being so removed sometimes is very helpful to me.
Totally.
So if you're struggling with like wanting him to be more involved, anyone, just try to look at the bright side of it of like they can kind of bring you out of it when you're stressed.
Yeah. And I have seen other friends go through it at a similar timeline where their partner is extremely involved and then they do fight or like
they care
clash.
Too much.
Yeah. They both have very differing opinions. So
yes.
we gotta accept what we got.
Yeah.
Be happy.
I love it because he's a part of the big decisions, like where it's going to be and like the fun details. But the drama, he can kind of like decompress me from because he's not in it and activated by it. So I actually appreciate it.
Yeah. We have a lot of listener questions about our relationships, about wedding planning, and just the stage of our lives that we're in. And I know one of the questions was, how did you know that Ethan was the one? And how did I know that Jake was the one?
I love that so much.
Me too.
Do you want me to go first?
Yes, I do.
We've been together since high school, just for background. So like, I have known ever since post-college, I would say. I think for me, I was always kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like after high school, when we chose the same college unintentionally, I was like literally every month waiting for him to cheat on me, want someone else. I didn't think he would cheat, but like want a cooler girl not from his hometown, honestly. And it caused a lot of fights because I would get drunk and get so jealous if he like spoke to a girl. Like I was psychotic.
But that was all based in your insecurity.
Yes.
Not actually anything that he was doing.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. And so when we got through college completely, like, I think by junior year I got over that. But when we got through all of that and he still chose me and I trusted him so much after all of that. And then I still, after college, like, he was the person I wanted to share all my wins with. Actually, this is a weird example, but every time someone asks me this, I don't know why, I always think back to this moment, and it's so weird. If you're from Long Island, we were at a pizza next door after college, right after college, on a date night, and I said, I have something that I've been thinking about for a long time that I want to do, and it might sound weird, but I want to start a YouTube channel. Please take note, this was 6 years ago. It was not a normal, cool thing to do. And he said, wait, you should do it. I don't know anyone else who's done that. That's so cool and so different. And the weirdest weight got lifted off my shoulders because I thought that starting a YouTube channel, I knew people would think it was so weird. And the fact that he was in my corner and like recorded wine reviews with me and like never made me feel embarrassed about it. I don't know why, but from that moment on, I was like, that's my fucking guy. Like, he's in my corner. He is my best friend. He's known me forever. And he's embracing the side of me that he wasn't a part of when I was younger. He didn't know me when I was like theater kid, whatever. And the fact that now I'm trying to bring that part of me back out, not caring about being cool, and he's supporting it. Honestly, from that moment on, I have not questioned a thing. Getting through trusting him in college and then supporting me through that, those are like the two biggest things. There's a million things I could list, but those are two like key things that I think have like just allowed me to feel fully supported and trust him.
I love that so much. You guys should go back to that spot and record a YouTube video there.
I know he probably literally has no recollection, though. It was nothing in his mind, you know? He was just like, that's cool.
Those are the funniest things, the things that were so meaningful to us that they're like, what?
Like, I literally have no recollection of that random date we went on to Ibiza next door.
Right. Yeah, I have like 2 examples of that. I remember, this doesn't really answer the question, but there was one time where it was probably like maybe 4 or 5 months into us dating. It was definitely early. And I remember we were sitting on his couch in his apartment and he pulled up his finances spreadsheet. And this has like all of his investments, all of his like year after year, the growth and all this stuff. And he showed what it would be like in 1 year, in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 30 years, in 50 years. And he, as he was going, he was explaining like, yeah, and this would be like, you know, if we were to get married and combine our finances. And then if we were to like put a down payment on a house. And I'm just like, whoa. This guy like sees a few, like that was the craziest concept to me because every guy I dated in the past like could never see past like date 10 with me. Yeah. And he has no recollection of that experience. He has no idea that he ever sat down and showed me that. He had no idea that it would have been meaningful to me.
It was a regular Tuesday. He's just on his computer.
Literally. So that's one of those things that like that meant so much to me. Like, wow, he's planning his future with me in mind. And I think that allowed me to like fall even further and just like feel more safe and secure with him.
Something about the finances of it, because I had a similar experience, something about knowing that they're planning their financial future around being with you is so hot. Like it makes you feel so
wanted
secure and wanted. And like, yeah, it's exciting to be like, it's fun to be like, oh, what would our kids' names be one day? But something about that is so real and you feel so secure through it. It's the best thing ever. So I totally get why you remember that.
Yeah, because it's like I was going from like, will this random guy text me back? Like, will we get to a 3rd date? To like, oh, he's looking at the year we're going to retire.
So cool. It's such a cool feeling.
Yeah. For me, in terms of when did I know he was the one, there was never a specific moment or a day or something he said. And it almost sounds like unromantic, but the truth is it's not very romantic. Like I felt so comfortable with this person. He became my best friend and the person that I wanted to, like you said, like share your wins with and celebrate things with and talk to about everything. And it also just made sense. Our values aligned, our plans for the future aligned. And the way we grew up was so similar. And I wish there was like a moment or, oh, he said this thing and I was like, that's my guy. But it was really just like, it felt right and it made sense.
Yeah. Was there a moment where he mentioned something about a proposal and you were like, oh my God? Or it usually just kind of happens naturally?
It happens so naturally over like a lot of different long conversations.
Yeah.
Where I feel like we'll use special occasions to like birthdays or anniversaries where we'll go out to a really nice dinner. And it's not just about like being at a nice restaurant. It's like we end up having deeper conversations about the future and about the relationship and about families and future planning and stuff during these dinners. And that's just somehow naturally happened.
By the way, that is such a good tip because especially in New York City, I always say creating space for those conversations is so key. Whether it's just like intentional date nights and dinners, for us, it's every time we go upstate, which is so niche. But it's just our thing and why we want to get married there. Every time we go upstate and sit by a fire and there's nothing else, we have no service, we're sitting by a fire, the conversations, and it takes a lot for a man to open up about like their childhood and like random things. Like that's when those conversations happen because usually we're just in such a rush all the time. Even grabbing quick dinner, we'll talk about like wedding stuff or whatever, but I think it's really key to create the space outside of just like like I love my cooking at home nights and all of that, but creating some sort of space outside of your daily life and daily routine somehow fosters and allows for those conversations.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think the important stuff comes up naturally.
Yeah, exactly. It's not forced.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get into some other questions we have. Thank you guys for sending these in. We love questions.
Love.
Okay. Somebody said, were you the type of girls that looked forward to your wedding since you were kids?
Yes. And I can't say that about a lot of things. The one thing in my life that I've looked forward to my entire life, literally ask my parents. I used to talk about it. I have vivid memories like in the car talking about my future wedding. There's so many things I don't give a shit about in this life. We have really good rent on this small apartment. So I'm not gonna like fight him on going and getting a big 2-bedroom apartment. Like there's so many things I literally don't care about. But for some reason, though I didn't even have a bat mitzvah. There's random things that I have not gotten that I don't care.
Wait, pause. Why did you not have a bat mitzvah?
I was literally just the third child. We were planning it, and then my grandma died, and it just kind of fell apart. Like, I have no explanation.
We should throw you one.
Okay, I'm so down.
That'd be so fun.
Let's go to Israel.
Yeah.
Why not? So, point being, I have had so many nights where I'm like, why am I doing this? It's costing so much money. It's causing so much stress, so much anxiety. Is it actually worth it? And what I keep coming back to is like, I'm not going to rob myself of an experience that I have looked forward to my whole life. And I know that every time I go to a friend's wedding, I'm just going to be jealous if I didn't have one. So I'm just pushing through all the stress because yes, I am that cheesy girl who has been thinking about it my whole life. Also, the last 12 years thinking about it with Ethan at the end of the aisle, which is really special. And I have a vows note in my phone for the past like 10 years. So, like,
oh my God.
It needs to happen.
Oh my God, that is so special. I have one from the past like 5 months.
Yeah. Well, you got to get ready.
Yeah, I got to do that. Wow, I love that.
What about you?
Well, hold on. Before we get to me.
Okay.
Is there anything, like, did you have a specific vision that's coming to life? Has your vision changed since you were a kid?
Since I was a kid, yeah. It's changed a million times. Once... Ethan and I have been saying we wanted upstate for the past few years because, like I said, that's just our place. Especially after he proposed upstate. Like, it's just our thing. We then realized the prices of a wedding upstate compared to a country club wedding by the house, for example. Maybe this is so unrelatable, but if you're like from Long Island, you know what I mean. All the food's there. You don't have to rent anything out. They're just easy. But it just didn't feel like us. So we were very set on upstate. But it's more money. And so we had to make the hard decision of one, the venues we ended up looking at that were within budget were nothing like what we envisioned. We envisioned mountain views. You know, you dream up this whole thing in your head. I've accepted that and I've changed my vision to like wholesome, if that makes sense. I'm like, it's going to be a small property. It's upstate, right in our favorite area. It's going to be more sentimental and wholesome and it'll still be beautiful. And we've had to cut the guest list. I didn't want a huge wedding. I wanted like 180. I thought that was perfect. And we're probably going to have to do 150 because from weighing the pros and cons, we decided, because we also were like, do we go to Italy with 60 people? What do we do? We decided we want to maintain our vision of something very us, upstate, and sacrifice some of the parents' friends. Sorry. Which has been touchy. But we're kind of like, we're going to just adjust our image of it, but we're still maintaining upstate in our favorite area, fire pit after party. Like it's still going to be very us. But yeah, you have to adjust the type of venue you envisioned and the guest count. And that was hard for me at first. But at the end of the day, it's about me and him. And I'm like, now I'm excited. It'll be wholesome. And you kind of just, I had a little grieving period about the budget and like the reality of what I would be able to afford. And then I moved on. And
you make it work.
Exactly. It's a wedding. At the end of the day, it's one weekend. I'm not going to cry into my corner that I don't have a budget of $200,000 or something absurd. Yeah. Like, it's okay.
It'll be incredible. Like, it will be incredible.
I know.
The crazy thing is I'll be in some Facebook groups or like scrolling these like, not Reddit threads, but like similar places. And people are like, yeah, like my wedding budget was $10,000 and we had 75 people. And I'm like, wait, how? What do you mean?
But also you will realize a lot of those are like 6 years ago because I've gone down the same rabbit hole.
And like not in the tri-state area.
Well, I will literally be looking at things. There's like a Catskills Reddit, whatever. And people will say they afforded a certain venue. And I'm like, wait, I can't for that many people. And it was like 4 years ago. It goes up every year. It's truly... Insane. Literally, also, like, no band. There's things that I'm not willing to sacrifice, which is, like, I hate myself for, but what are you going to do?
No, literally, even our honeymoon, we know people who stayed at this beautiful, like, boutique hotel in this, like, amazing suite, and they paid last year $400 a night for it. We went to go see it. not to see it, but we looked online. We're like, oh, well, like book that. It sounded like they had an amazing time. They like highly recommended it. It was $1,200 a night for that same room.
Was it a different time of year?
No.
That's weird.
Right?
But that is another good point. After planning an entire wedding, you're comparing your fucking honeymoon to other people's glamorous honeymoons.
Yep.
When, like, you just spent fucking everything, everyone's money on a wedding, and then you're supposed to plan it is supposed to be the most glamorous, luxurious trip of your life, and you're like, wait, how? I want that to go towards the wedding.
No,
like,
also, I found that this is an internal problem. I found that because I've become so accustomed to, and listen, this took me months to come around to like how much money was being spent on the wedding. And granted, it's not our money, and again, I recognize how fortunate I am.
Yeah.
But after seeing like those price tags, now I'm almost like immune to expensive things. And I'm like, oh, like, well, it's our honeymoon. And then I'm like, no, like, because also I almost think the more you spend on your honeymoon, like I know people who have spent $50,000 on their honeymoon for 2 weeks. And I'm like, I think about that and I break that down. I'm like, what? That's like $7,000 a day. Like, how could I possibly justify that? And also that would put so much pressure on every day to be like worthy of $7,000. And that's insane.
No, it's so stupid.
The most insane thing. And like once I broke it up like that, I'm like, no, I can't wrap my head around this. I would never do that. That's so not me.
Right. Also, if you're not like the most, like we're not like bougie, luxurious people. So I'm like, we're going to travel how we like to travel. Mm-hmm. We will splurge a little more than we normally would because it's a honeymoon and it's weeks long or whatever.
Exactly.
But it doesn't need to be the Four Seasons every night.
No,
like,
we're staying at a Westin.
It's not how we travel anyway.
Yeah, we're staying at a Westin in one of the places we're going. Like, we basically chose what we would do and maybe got like one level up of a nicer room.
Exactly. Yeah. That is how I think we will do it too. Also, like, just transparently, we are actually adding a lot of our own money to the budget because, to your question earlier, like, did your you know, idea or vision have to change? We decided to throw some money in so that it didn't have to change as much, but it's still changing. And then it's like, and then we have to plan a honeymoon. Are you doing yours right after?
We are.
Like day after?
Like we leave on Monday night.
Everyone's doing that.
I was very opposed to it initially. Like,
okay, explain.
So against it. I thought it'd be way too stressful to like plan. I get so overwhelmed. Like I know the wedding weekend's already going to be very overwhelming for me. And I was like, the last thing I want is to like have to pack and then like go. And we were going to do a mini moon and go somewhere. And then just as things came together, at first it was like with Jake's work schedule, it just made a lot more sense. It was a lot more logical for him to just take off like a big chunk of time instead of like
at once
taking a week off for the wedding, because I'd still want him to take off starting like Thursday, and then I'd still want to go somewhere after for a few days. So it's like, and then to take 2 weeks off later is like, it just, he has a certain number of vacation days. Like it doesn't work like that. So that was part of it. And
where are you going?
We're doing Paris for 4 nights, during which we will see the Jonas Brothers.
Wait,
and
that worked out really well.
Not a coincidence.
Oh my God.
Then we're going to Greece. We're going to do Santorini for 3 nights and Crete for 4 nights.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We're going to do, he's just like, sure, whatever. Our anniversary is 11/11/11. He proposed on 11/11. Unfortunately, 11/11 is not a Saturday, so our wedding will be on October 11th. So we're keeping the 11th.
Your wedding's October 11th?
What is that?
Your birthday is October 11th?
What is that from?
Parent Trap?
Oh, I thought October 3rd's Mean Girls. You're right. And then my idea is let's do Mini Moon Upstate, like where he proposed at an S for a few nights.
Perfect.
And then I was thinking, why don't we do our honeymoon on November 11th, keep the 11/11 going? I feel like, why does no one do that? Having like 3 to 4 weeks in between. You're right, though, with taking off work. But I kind of like the idea of having a come down and then having something to look forward to.
I agree. I think that would have been like my ideal. We have a wedding. One of Jake's best friends is getting married 4 weeks after us, so we couldn't do that.
Okay.
But no, I like that idea. It breaks it up, but it still keeps it going. Like you get time to chill and recoup and then organize your life and then pack.
But you're right, it's not always realistic. Who knows? He might end up when it gets closer being like, wait, I literally can't do this with work. So we'll see. That's the idea in my head.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing. Don't know how we got on this topic.
Well, did your vision change? I think that was the question.
I didn't have a vision.
Okay.
never knew. I think instead of focusing on what my wedding was going to be like or dreaming about my wedding, I was always just like thinking about the person.
Yeah. Where I had way too much time to think about the wedding. That makes sense.
Yeah. So that was that. But here it comes. I'm happy about the wedding. I'm happy about the person.
Love.
Okay. Somebody asked about what has been the best thing and the hardest thing about being in a long-term relationship. And I want to direct this one specifically towards you since you've been in a much longer relationship than Alana.
Best part about being with him as long as I have specifically is that I feel like we know each other in and out. Do you know what like, stupid example, but he's in Colorado right now. We were on the phone right before this, and he's on the phone, and I hear a lot of noise around him, and he was like, not rushing me off the phone, but we spoke for literally 30 seconds, and he was like, okay, have a great day. And I was like, wait, what? Like,
Okay.
I was like, I haven't spoken to you. And he's like, trying to say, I like knew what he was trying to say right away. I go, there's a lot of people around you. You're overstimulated. He goes, yes, very. And I was like, okay, don't worry. Love you. And it's like, we just kind of get each other. And I think in any long-term relationship, no matter like how long it is, just long in general, having someone that you just get each other right away, and that I could be like, while I'm living with him, I really need alone time. I'm very like I need a minute. He's not going to get offended if I go into my bedroom because he's been with me for so long that like he knows it is not personal. He's like, you should. He'll literally be like, have you meditated today? Like, that's my favorite part, is just knowing each other inside and out, I think, and having someone really get you and what makes you you, so that when you are triggered by a family situation or whatever, they like know what to say. And they like, or even if they don't, they just understand you, you know, where like when you're in a new relationship, I'm sure you have to figure out how you communicate and like what happened in your childhood to make you feel this way about what I did. And when you're with someone long enough, it is nice and comforting to have that like bond. Worst part, I don't feel this way anymore, but I think right after college, the coolest part about us being together was we had open conversations about this of like, are we missing out on dating, period? Like, we have literally never dated anyone else. Are we going to regret that one day? What if my biggest thing was like, I thought we were going to get sick of each other when we moved in together because we had been together for so long. And I was like, what if all this goes to shit and I never dated? But I don't feel that way at all whatsoever anymore. But in that period of time, it was a weird thing of like, are we missing out on something? Should we date? And it just always came back to, I could never let go of this person.
Yeah.
That would be the dumbest thing I ever did. And so I'm glad we didn't like have a weird moment of like, yeah, let's take a break and date for the sake of dating, because
that's what you're supposed to do, or what other people do. Like, so what? You did it differently, and it's an amazing, beautiful thing that you did.
Yeah, the amount of people who like judge me for having my body count of 1, I'm like,
I mean, that's
so
awesome.
I don't have diseases.
No, it's awesome.
Like,
and
it doesn't mean I lack life experience, but those thoughts do kind of come into your head when you've been together with someone since high school.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I'm sure there were certain periods where you saw your friends having so much fun being single and going out and making out with random people on dance floors and like gossiping about it the next day. But you also were still able to gossip about it with them. You were still able to go out and have fun and not have to make your night about, oh, well, it's not a good night if I don't make out with somebody random.
100%. And I will say the perk is like, because Ethan and I went to high school and college together, all of my friends are like best friends with him. So he can be in on the girl chat. Like,
that's
he
awesome.
would literally be in our apartment in college, like after a guy just left for someone else, and we'd all like kiki the next morning about it. So like, we still got to have the fun of it together. I don't believe it was an issue by any means. So if anyone's thinking that, and you're like if you're in like a million-year relationship and you're kind of having doubts right out of college, if he is your person and you're sure about that, like, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to think if I could think of like a definitive best thing and hardest thing.
It is a hard question.
Yeah. I think the hardest thing is sometimes, and I think this goes back to like the wedding stuff, it's like sometimes wanting him to be someone that he's not, where it's like, I want him to care more about the wedding stuff. Like, I got really annoyed yesterday where we were in the kitchen. He was on the phone with his parents, and they asked about what he's wearing for the rehearsal dinner, and they asked what I'm wearing for the rehearsal dinner to see if like we should try and match it. And I'm like, Jake, I've shown you what I'm wearing 7 times. Like, you know what I'm wearing. He's like, you've shown me a lot of things.
Boy
I'm like,
things.
this one's more important. Like, you should know. And I had to pull it out. And he's like, yeah, that one. I wouldn't even know how to describe it. It's like, this is something that was so important to me that I tried on 27 dresses for, literally. So like,
27.
can you care a little bit more? You know, like things like that, which that's not who he is. He's not going to ever know how to describe a dress, or like, he might not remember the specific dress that I chose, but it's like, I almost wish he did.
Yeah, but I think if you can try to reframe it, because I have felt that same exact way, and going back to what I was saying before, and just kind of appreciating that he doesn't care, it's kind of like amazing. like
I need to care less.
No, you're totally valid in your feelings, but if you could try to just be like, after you're annoyed and whatever, the next day, like, okay, it's kind of a cute quirk about him that he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I try to come back to that, because otherwise you're, like you said, it's like you just want to change someone, and they're not changing.
Right. Like, I can't actually be mad about that.
You can voice it and he'll try to do better, but after that you kind of have to be like, okay, stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's the hardest. Like, sometimes, you know, you're choosing a person and they are who they are. And obviously there are 1,000 things I love about Jake, but sometimes, you know, I wish there were other things that aren't him, and no one's perfect, but he's perfect for me.
And I think wedding planning can heighten all of that too. So
yes. Very much so.
It won't last forever.
Very much so. Love you, Jake. The best thing, I mean, I think the best thing, he's just like my home. Like, he is my home. Like, I could be in the greatest place with my best friends, like on an island somewhere, or I could be on an awesome family trip, or I could be like doing the coolest thing, and all I want is just like go home to him in Berkeley, and like that is my happy place. And that's just like where I find the most comfort and peace. And like, even just sitting on the couch with him at night, like watching a show, it's just like, that is, knowing I can have that at the end of every day, no matter what happens during the day, brings me so much comfort.
I always say that it's like a Xanax, because I could have the most stressful day at work, or a crazy fight or conversation with a family member, and just like seeing him on the couch, I'm like, You're right. It's like this just feeling of like, okay, I'm coming back to like myself and home, and like we're okay.
Yeah, exactly. And like, the world's gonna keep spinning, but like, this is my space and my place and my person.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally relate.
Love that. All right, let's do like 1 or 2 more. Okay. We got a question that says, how do you handle a full-time job and wanting to create a social presence? Jen,
let me know.
Do you? Yeah. This girl, okay, hold on. Just for anyone who doesn't really understand the full extent of what Jen does, Jen has a YouTube channel. Jen has a podcast. Jen does social media content. Jen has a full-time job. Jen is running.
Jen is exhausted.
Jen is planning a wedding, and Jen is tired.
Well, that's why I got a wedding planner, because I was like, that is another full-time job that this is not my plate. If you watch Housewives, you get that reference. How do you do it? You know what? I say I'm tired, but I will say I'm going to pat myself on the back. I prioritize my night routine, my sleep, my wellness, and everything so much that I'm actually not as tired as you would think. Like, I have done so much work to heal my stomach issues, my hormonal issues, getting off birth control, all of that, which I was feeling like such shit for so long. All of this stuff, everything, full-time job, content, all of it would give me such bad bloating, and like I was just a mess. This is like a weird little tidbit of advice, but ever since healing all of that, like Michael Bostic always says, like health comes first before his kids, before anything, because it's like a trickle down. Ever since I healed all of that, I am way better able to manage my stress levels, my energy, everything. So that's just like a little tidbit that like, I know there's a lot of people that are like, okay, if you're going to do full-time job and content, you better be prepared to not sleep. Like, if you want to make this work, you got to be up editing all night and blah, blah, blah. And I think that is like recipe for destruction and disaster.
You actually have to sleep. You have to prioritize sleeping.
Like, and going back to having Ethan be like, okay, we're going to bed now. Like, shut your computer. Like, I need that, because ever since I prioritized my sleep and all that, I am better able to juggle all of it. More tangibly, though, Google Calendar. And I'm like trying to think. I think just like coming up with a system, which it's taken me years. Like I have had a YouTube channel for 5 years, a podcast for 3. I've worked full time through most of it. And I think coming up with a system to set yourself up for success. So like I used to be like, okay, I'll film all my YouTube videos. I'll film a YouTube video on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then I'll edit on Tuesday, Thursday, for example. That's not actually what I thought.
Oh my God.
That's not actually what I thought. I'm using an extreme example that like I would say, okay, I'll just do all this on these days or at night after work. Like that's a prime example. I'd be like, okay, I'll edit all this after work. I have 3 hours, whatever. But you learn what's not actually going to happen. That's not going to happen. I'm exhausted after work. Like, it's just an example. I no longer do that. I literally look at my Google Calendar for the week and I'm like, when am I actually going to have the energy or time to film a video? Oh, this day's a rest day from running, so I'll do that before work. Like, it's a weird thing to explain, but it's like you need to actually look at your lifestyle, your calendar, your life, and be like, when can I actually fit in recording a podcast, filming a YouTube video, and then when can I actually film and editing it? Oh, I can't? Then maybe this is something I should outsource. So it's kind of like looking at your time and being like, what do I realistically have time and energy for? Because to my point, you might have time to edit a video for 5 hours after work, but like, are you going to? Mm-hmm. Probably not. So like set yourself up for success. Take a look at what you actually are able to manage, where you can fit it in, and what you can't do that you really want to do, outsource and ask around for the most like affordable option.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, all of that. I also, to add to that, would say if you're trying to pursue anything on the side of your full-time job, whether it's social media, small business, creating bracelets, painting, whatever it may be, you have to always go back to that you're doing it because you love it, because you are adding on something to your already busy life. And chances are, for the first very long time, you're not going to make money off of it. Jen and I were talking about it before. Like, podcasting is a really expensive hobby for a very, 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 very long time. And you can't just start doing a side project because you're expecting to create an income from it. You have to be pursuing it because you love it.
Unless it, to your point, is like selling bracelets on Etsy or whatever, because like you can enjoy it's a service. Podcasting and content is way harder.
Yes.
But I actually spoke about this. I think Carly like stitched it or whatever. Mm-hmm. The only thing that keeps me going, because I could and should very easily cut out my YouTube or my podcast. Those are 2 full-time productions that if I just put 100% into one of them could be doing way better. But I have such a passion for all of it that I literally can't stop. And so find what you're really passionate about. Mm-hmm. Don't start a podcast because you see the really famous podcasters like making millions. It's not realistic. If you are really passionate about something, you'll find the time. Yeah. And I think that's just something that you will experience. And if you're finding yourself struggling so much because you don't want to do it and it's not fun for you anymore, then maybe it's time to pivot.
Yeah. Agreed. What is that on your wall?
Oh, do you want me to do a tutorial? It's a drying rack.
Oh, I understand now.
Yeah.
It's okay. You don't have to.
The plants, the drying rack, the chandelier. This is all my wife, Ethan.
Your wife. Oh my God. That's very impressive.
He's the logistic, rational one, and I am the messy, creative one.
I built a whole dresser the other day. I was very proud of myself.
Good for you. That's sick.
Built from a box.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun. I like mindless activities.
I loved it. Jake was like, we should hire a TaskRabbit. I was like, no, I think I want to try. And he's like, I would never. And I actually loved it. I mean, it took like 4 hours. But
it's similar to like me cooking after work, like something off a screen.
Yes.
Mindless.
Agreed. Exactly. And I edited 2 podcast episodes while I did it. And Jake's like, how? I'm like, well, I'm not editing everything. It's like I press play and then I listen. And then like every 5 or 10 minutes I have to stop and edit something. So I was productive too. And it was relaxing. It was like therapeutic. I'm like, wait, should I get into Legos?
Do you know what that's called? Habit stacking. It's when you do one thing that's maybe like not as fun. It's like when you stack 2 habits together. So like when I used to fucking hate, sorry if I can't curse,
you can.
Folding laundry. So now I listen to a podcast that inspires me while I fold my laundry. It's like stacking 2 habits.
I can't fold laundry without having a show on.
Right?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
It takes so much time.
I know.
It takes so much. I was thinking about it the other day. I'm like, how am I going to do this with a family of 5? Like, I don't know. It takes so
We need to start making a lot more money so we can hire someone to do it.
Literally.
Because that sounds awful.
Speaking of which, guys, 5-star rating, review, share this episode with a friend. Follow both of us if you don't already at Jen Lauren with some N's in there, right?
Yeah, Jen_Lauren with 2 N's on Instagram, Jen Lauren with 2 N's on TikTok, Jen Lauren on YouTube.
Dare to Self-Care.
Dare to Self-Care podcast. I think that's everything. I'm exhausted.
Seeing other people. Alana Dunn. If you want to find us, we can be found. No, but this has been great. Okay, I asked you for your best piece of dating or relationship advice when you first came on the podcast. Also, welcome back. I should have said that in the beginning. So instead, I'm going to ask you what your best piece of self-care advice is.
Do you want, because I could do like a mindset, or I could do like an actual tip, like tangible. Because tangible, I'm going to sleep. You literally, your health will suffer. Like, it all starts with sleep, which is so annoying to say, but like it's true, because not only will you not be as efficient and productive and all of that if you don't sleep well, but also like your health goes to shit, your stress hormones, hormonal imbalances, gut issues, IBS, all of it. Like, you don't realize how much sleep affects that. And then also, to that point, your nervous system. There's so often, and I talk about this a lot on my podcast, where people say, just fix your stress levels. You go to the doctor. How many times have I gone to a stomach doctor and they're like, manage your stress? It's like, how? Look up ways to manage or control your nervous system. A lot of it's like slow, deep breaths. There's a lot of different things you can do, but again, that will help your sleep and your overall health. So that is like my biggest thing.
I had a thought before when you were talking about like healing your gut and how that like helped you so much with stress and all that. I yesterday had like a complete breakdown like 10 minutes before having to like go to do a social thing, and I was like in the worst mood and like out of nowhere, like really upset, really stressed, like really just down and not feeling myself, and like I almost started crying. And I also had horrible stomach problems yesterday. Like, terrible.
It's from stress.
The entire day. And I'm like, wow, these two are related.
It's completely related. And great. And on that note of getting off birth control, after healing my hormones from that, it's been like, I think probably almost 2 years at this point. I now can be like, okay, I'm judging myself. I'm having self-doubt. I feel lethargic. What's going on with me? And every time I look at my app and my period's coming, and it's just cool to kind of like just feel fully balanced and like understand your body, which took me 6 years to get to. So like I understand it's annoying to listen to when you're going through it. But anything you can do, and you just started like a whole fitness journey, which is so cool. That alone will help your nervous system. That helps your stress because you're like letting out your stress somewhere else. So like literally just small little things, taking deep breaths, like anything you can do, get better sleep. It doesn't have to be like go take a run every day. Just helps. And like I'm trying to lean into that even more with my wedding planning too. So
yeah, got to keep those stress levels down.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. Well, this was lovely.
I
This
know.
was a good vent therapy girl talk sesh.
It was 100%.
Love it. To be continued.
Yes.
But guys, seriously, 5-star rating and review. Please share this episode with a friend. Post it on your story. Tag us. Send it to the group chat. And let us know if you have any follow-up questions. We'd love to hear from you.
Love you.
Bye.